Hello. So I have a short video today. I want to talk about the spiritual meaning of flies. And the reason why I want to talk about that is I've noticed a theme in my own life that fits with the spiritual meaning of flies, that they do pop up at very opportune times to give messages. So I just want to share, I did a little research and it totally checks out with the experiences that I've had with flies. So let me tell you. So spiritually, flies symbolize transformation, challenging situations, harsh environments, and abrupt changes. So they could pop up, yes, we know flies usually to come around places that are, I don't know, dirty, right? Like, they land on shit or rotten food, right? And it's this idea of kind of like a decomposing. They like to be around when things are decomposing, right? So that's, or just food in general. Like, it doesn't have to be decomposing food. They just like food, but it's like you notice that they kind of pop around when things, are decomposing. And that's the idea of the transformation, right? So that's a physical representation of transformation, but then there can also be the spiritual representation of transformation. And in my life, they have popped up when spiritually things were changing. So I also wrote down, shitty situations. So maybe, you'll notice flies are like flying around you and you're around a group of people and the environment is really harsh. You don't feel comfortable, or there's things going on that you don't quite understand behind your back. You don't feel like you can trust these people, right? Untrustworthy people. They can also pop up, when strength is required, right? So it could just literally be your ancestors trying to warn you of something, right? Like, look at the situation, notice what's going on, almost kind of like a warning sign in a way. Then it made me think of, while I was writing the notes down, how if they'll come around transformational decomposing situations, right? And it makes me think of like how they're black bugs, and it makes me think of like black, of just like a like a funeral black. Like, it's almost like that a transformational moment, you know what I mean? So I think it's just really interesting how it can parallel spiritually to what's going on physically as well. I'm just thinking, like, if a bunch of flies are gathering around something that's passing away, or like a something, right? And then it's almost the way that like humans will do the same thing. We wear black and we all gather for somebody. And so it's just interesting. Yeah, so it can also represent adversity and chaos too. So look out for them, right? Look out for them. Notice when you see them. It can also represent distractions. So you know how flies are annoying as hell, right? Like when you don't know where one is, but you hear it and it's bzz, bzz, buzzing around you and it's distracting you. You're like, where is that damn fly? But you can't find it, right? That it can also represent distractions, or that you're just like you're focusing on the wrong thing, right? So that is another way that a fly could pop up to give you a little tea, right? Then also magic related flies, apparently, now this is new to me, I didn't know this, but people can use flies as spells to spy on somebody. So sending flies as a way to spy, right? And so like I've learned to just appreciate them, because it's just like, if you don't, just appreciate them for what they do, like make space for everything that exists and appreciate them for what they do, because when you don't, that's when you usually have to come in contact with them more. When you don't appreciate things, right? Is when then they show up more and more in your life. So, you know, they serve their purpose, and we have to just learn to appreciate them for what they serve their purpose for. But you know, when you think of the saying fly on the wall, right? Like somebody peeping, something there, you don't even notice it's there, but it's there and it's picking up information. So I guess if you do certain spells, I don't do these things, so I don't know exactly what spell that would be. But if you do that, I guess it's like these flies will go around people, and then you can like spiritually pick up that information. Now be cautious with that. I feel like I have to give a disclaimer. Be cautious with that, because I feel like, I don't know, don't just be spying on folk, or it's like the Most High is going to send you back a bunch of flies. It's about to be a fly catastrophe in your bedroom, you know? Like, I just feel like don't abuse it. But I guess that's something that people do, use them as like little peeping toms, if you will, to gather information. So that's interesting to me as well. And then I just want to talk about the book Lord of the Flies, right? You may have read it like in middle school, where you know, it's the young boys, they get stranded on an island, and then they have to kind of fend for themselves because there's no adults there. And so they have to like create their own order of what they're going to do, how they're going to survive, right? And they go through an extremely chaotic period where it's like, you know, they try to start out very civilized as they can, and then it grows and grows and grows into this disastrous situation where they have to fend for themselves. They're fighting against each other, right? Trying to find order and balance where there really is none. And I just think it's interesting. It's called Lord of the Flies. Like that, the Lord of the extremely transformational, crazy experience that these young boys go through. And so, you know, that's the symbolism of flies. And I can tell you, like, one experience I had with flies that was really funny is like when I was in college, I was living in an apartment with some friends, right? And I don't think any of us really liked this damn apartment. I'll keep it 100. I don't think any of us liked it. We all kind of like, I don't know, it was just like awkward. I feel like it was tension between us, but it was also just kind of like not the most ideal. You know how it is in college, right? Like things aren't clean. We had just graduated, some of us. It was just like, you know how it is when you're living, whatever. So as I'm leaving, all these flies, like as we're moving out, all of these flies just start like flying all around the apartment. Like in the kitchen especially, but it was like they were coming from the ceiling, but then they were going into my bedroom, going into like my friends' bedrooms. And it was like right before I'm getting ready to move out. One of my roommates had already moved out. We kind of had like an awkward experience when we decided we were gonna move out. Like, you know, one person, she wanted to move out immediately. We didn't know, we weren't really ready to go. So it was kind of this awkward tension, but then we decided, you know, F it, we're just gonna go because we're not really that happy here anyways, right? But then so all these flies, like it was maybe, I'm trying to remember how many flies. It was so many flies, and it just was so gross to me. And my ass is trying to spray them down with like cleansing spray, right? Because I'm like, I hate these fucking flies. So I'm trying to spray them down, kill them all. When I tell you, they were not dying. They would not, like, if you got one and you killed it, 3 more come in somewhere. And so what's crazy though is then after I left and moved to another place, a new painful transformational period happened right after that. So it almost was like they were telling me, like, you're focused on moving and doing this, but like we're letting you know that what you're getting ready to move into is gonna shock you in a whole different way, right? And it could have even, I feel like sometimes flies can come to humble. I read that. It can be like a humbling experience, but it was kind of like when I was feeling really on top of my game before I moved out too. Like I was like, I'm out here. Like I was living in LA. I'm like, I got this. I'm doing this. And then it was kind of like, no, you're going back home. And when I got back home, like I had a whole new kind of breakdown of self that, really shook me in a whole different way. So I felt like they were kind of giving me a heads up of what was already kind of happening where I was, but then also what to prepare for where I was going. You know what I mean? And, I can think of a couple other experiences I've had with flies, but I'm not going to share them right now. But, it's just interesting. It's interesting. So look for animals and bugs and see like when they pop up in your life and what they may be trying to tell you, because it could, I feel like it's not coincidental when you see these things. It's really not coincidental. Like we think it is, but I feel like there's a message most of the time, So yeah, that's just what I want to share. It's just a quick little video about flies. I might do some more animal symbolism videos because I notice, like for me, they definitely pop up and give me messages all the time, from seeing butterflies, right, to seeing, raccoons. I could tell you some stories about raccoons, all kinds of stuff, right? Cats. Like I really, really could. So I probably will at some point keep talking about some animal symbolism. So yeah, all right. Hope this gave you some insight or some information that helps you in some way. And until next time, bye.